Okay, so let's take a look at how to create a scale. Now, we have here our foundations codebook, right? And we're going to go down and we have all these different scales here. We have all these different measures. We have parenting styles. We have psychological control, media monitoring, media monitoring, sex communication. So we have all these different concepts that we've measured. And we measure them with a lot of different questions. And we ask all those questions because we want to triangulate in onto what we really mean. And so asking more questions that are covering the whole concept that we're trying to get at really helps us to pinpoint and accurately measure what we want to. So let's take, for example, parenting styles. I'm going to click on this, go to parenting styles here, and click on the child codebook. Now, we have child and parent codebook because children responded to some, parents responded to some. Let's just do parenting styles, how the child responded. So we can look here. They were asked questions. At first they said, how much do you agree or disagree with the following? Then it gave them a few statements like, my parent is responsive to my feelings and needs. And then the child responded, never, once in a while, about half the time, very often, and always. So they selected one of those, and we coded as 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay, so what we can do is we can see that the child, again, as we look at these, the first letter is who responded to it, that's the child, and then sometimes we'll have a P or an O as the second letter. And if it's a P or an O as the second letter, typically that simply means the child is responding about the primary caregiver, or the child is responding about the other caregiver. So the question, when I ask why I have to obey my parent, states because I said so, or I'm your parent and I want you. If the variable is labeled CP, it's the child responding about their primary caregiver. If it's labeled CO, the child is responding about their other caregiver. And you can find out the gender of the other caregiver and the primary caregiver pretty easily through the different variables there. So we go down here and we have different aspects of parenting. We have authoritative parenting, that's typically the good stuff. We have the authoritarian parenting, that's typically the bad stuff. And the permissive parenting, that's also not so great. So let's say we were interested in parenting warmth and support. So what we want to do is we want to then look at items 7, 1, 12, 14, and 27. All of authoritative parenting, if you wanted all of those, they would be all the items in these three factors. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at that. So we go here to our Stata. Mine is dark. If yours isn't dark, that's okay. But mine's dark because if I look at the white all day long, it's kind of hard on the eyes. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at CPSTY, all right? And I type in CPSTY up here in the variables because if I go to here, well, not there. If I go to here, you'll see that they start with CPSTY, okay? So I want to do that, and then I'm going to look and see, all right, let's do warmth and support. Item 7, 1, 12, 14, 27, okay? I'm going to just put this over here. Well, 7, 1, 12, 14, 27. Let's see if I can. 7, 1, 12, 14, and 27. Okay, I just selected those. I was just holding down Control and selecting the ones that I wanted. I'm going to click on that. It's going to put them down there. Okay, let me just make sure. 7, 1, 12, 14, 27. 7, 1, 12, 14, 27. Got it. Really, the 1 should probably be over there. I'm going to fix that right now. There we go. All right, so I have all of those. So we want to determine how good a scale this is. Is it reliable for our sample? So I'm going to go ahead and type in alpha here. And that's going to give me my Cronbach's alpha, and we want this to be above 0.7 for us to say, yeah, it's reliable. 0.84, that's great. Wonderful. We say this is a reliable measure. All right, now we want to generate that variable. So we're going to go ahead and at the end of alpha, we're going to type in gen, and this is warmth, and so I'm going to do maybe primary underscore warm. I could call this really anything I want. I could name it the name of my children if I wanted to. And so I'm going to go ahead and go there, and it doesn't give me anything different, but I'm going to clear that so I can see all my variables. Go down to the very bottom and look, there's my primary warmth. Maybe I'll double click on that. Let's take a look at a histogram of that. See how this one looks. Take just a minute to create the histogram. It'll be a little faster on the server if you're using the Citrix because that's using the computer power of the server, which is pretty good. I'm just here on my laptop. So here's the histogram of warmth. Very few kids are reporting really low warmth, though we get some in this area. Mostly kids are in the 4 or 5 range reporting, yeah, my parents pretty warm. Now let's say I want to do it for the other caregiver. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that. All we'd have to do is, instead of primary or P, I'm going to just switch that to O. So I'm going to switch all of this to O. So we have other style. And that's not the primary caregiver, now it's the other. I'm going to call it OTH warm. Hit that, and away we go. So let's go ahead and go down here, copy that, paste it there. Let's do a histogram on that. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, there's the warmth. Looks like maybe we have a few more down here. Maybe it's because the other caregiver is more likely to be dads, and maybe dads are perceived as a little less warm. But there you have the variables. So now we have 2 variables, primary and other warmth. So that works out pretty well. Now let's take a look at one of the errors that we commonly get. So let's look at anxiety. I've typed in A and X up here, and so now I have anxiety. I have anxiety 1 through 6. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. It's going to put it down there. And I'm going to say alpha for that one. Now it's giving me an error. It's saying it can't determine the sense empirically. Now, what in the world does that mean? Well, sometimes when you have a scale, some of the items, the higher the level, the more of it indicates. But other items, it might be the higher it is, the less of whatever it is it indicates. So for example, our depression items. You have items like I feel lonely or I sleep restlessly. If a person responds strongly agree to those, that means they have more depression. But sometimes in depression measures, you also have the item like I feel happy. And that's a really good item because it gets you at a different aspect of that. But if they strongly agree to I am happy, that means they have less depression. So for some of the items, the higher they respond, the more of whatever it is, depression, anxiety, or happiness they have. But other items, it might be the higher they respond on that particular item, the less of it they have. And so Stata will try and look in there and say, are any of these reversed? Should be reversed because a high value actually means the opposite. So here it's saying it can't determine it. It looks in and tries to determine whether or not there should be something that's reversed, and it can't see anything. So what you do is you look at the items here. I'm going to just copy that. I'm going to put D here for describe and look at the items. I worry about things. When I have a problem, I get a funny feeling in my stomach. I feel afraid. When I have a problem, my heart beats really fast. I worry that something bad will happen to me. When I have a problem, I feel shaky. All of those would indicate that the more they strongly agree with that, or the higher the score they put on each one of those, the more anxiety they would have. So this should be as is, right? There's nothing that should be reversed. Another way you can tell that, so I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do a pairwise correlation on all of these. Now, if all of these are positively correlated with each other, if there were any negative correlation, you'd say, that item is probably going in the opposite direction. So note here, before it was red, it gave me the error, but I found out that, you know what, they're all correlated positively, and all of these seem to be going in the right direction. So I'm going to do comma as is, and then it goes ahead and runs that for me, right? The reliability is 0.839, so it looks good. As is, and then I could also say gen, and I could say anxiety, and do the same thing, and then I'd go down and I'd be able to see at the bottom of my data set anxiety. Now I have that variable. Let's take a look at another example of depression. I mentioned those depression items. So if I type DEP in here, I'll start getting my depression items. I'm going to go ahead and copy those and do a alpha on those. Alpha 0.926 looks really good. Now notice what it did. It says here, reversed items. It looked at it and said, you know what, these probably are reversed. And that is, the higher they are, the lower they are in depression. I mean, we can take a look at these things. I'm going to copy that, press D for describe, and I felt like I was just as good as other kids. I was happy. I had a good time. I felt like something good was going to happen to me. All of those would indicate less depression. Whereas all of the other ones in the depression scale would indicate more depression. Just for example here, let's go ahead and we'll copy 1 through 4. Again, describe those. I was bothered by things that usually don't bother me. Did not feel like eating. Wasn't able to feel happy. Felt like I was just as good as the other kids. One of these things is not like the other. All of these, if you respond high on those, strongly agree, you're going to have more depression. Except for this one, you reply high on that one, strongly agree. That means you have less depression. So Stata is going to automatically take a look and reverse those. Now, it might be that Stata, again, we have the as is command, because it cannot determine the sense empirically. It says, I'm not quite sure what it is. Do some need to be reverse coded? If some do need to be reverse coded, then you don't want to put as is. You want to put reverse, more for shortcut R. So what I would do here for depression, I'm going to do an alpha, and then I'm going to, well, let's go ahead and I'm just going to select this again. So there's my alpha. Boom, got all of those. I just clicked on that one. I already done it. But rather than say, just let it do the reverse for me, I'm going to go R. I'm going to specify the ones that should be reversed. Now, I'm cheating here because I know which one should be reversed because Stata told me. So I'm just going to copy, put those in there, and hit enter again. And it does my alpha reliability for me. So it reverse coded all of those. Now, I'm hard coding that in, or I'm just typing it in. For this one, though, I wouldn't need to. I could just leave it there, and it would tell me, I'm reverse coding those items. It would just do it automatically. So that's how you create a scale. That's how you check its reliability within Stata.